Good evening and namaste, my dear friends. Welcome to today's class on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Let us begin the class with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, Beloved Gurudev, Dear Lord Krishna, Dear Jesus Christ, Saints and sages of all religions, great sages Vedvyas, Maharshi Patanjali, Adi Shankaracharya, humbly we bow and touch thy feet. Divine Mother, help me to feel thy healing light shining within me and around me. Keep the eyes of my inner perception open, that I may be able to behold thy transmuting light. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us sing the hymn to Brahma. Let's call on to our beloved Gurudev, Paramahansa Yogananda. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Paramahansa Yogananda, 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 Jai Guru, Jai. Let's feel the presence of our beloved Gurudev within us and around us. Let us invoke his presence always in our life, that he may guide our feelings, our thoughts, our will, our intentions, and all our actions. May he be with us all through eternity, till we embrace ourselves into infinity. And even then, may we remember who brought us into infinity. As we sit in silence, let us share a few thoughts by Swami Kriyananda on contentment. Contentment has been said to be the supreme virtue. Contentment means living to the fullest the good of every passing moment. Above all, it means living behind the present moment in the eternal now. How much is lost in life by people who perennially wish things other than they are, who complain unceasingly and tell themselves that the world owes them more than it is giving them. We must smile inwardly with God, knowing that life is His dream. Contentment is the surest way of drawing the very best out of every circumstance. Let us do the following affirmation repeatedly. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented, for I hold in my heart God's peace. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented, for I hold in my heart God's peace. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented, for I hold in my heart God's peace. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented, for I hold in my heart God's peace. Mentally follow this prayer. Lord, as you live eternity, as you live eternally at rest in yourself, so let me live also, contented ever, that I may be worthy of living in your joy. Om, peace, Amen. Namaste and welcome, dear friends, to today's class on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And today, in our story time, we have a story that was told by Paramahansa Yogananda. It's a very, very interesting story. He named this story as a saint who chose a king as his spiritual guide. The following story is from India's ancient spiritual lore. It is one of many such stories frequently told by Paramahansa Yogananda to illustrate basic principles of dharma, the eternal laws of right action. Long ago, there lived a great sage named Vyasa. He was the writer of the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. By his divine power, he invoked a saintly soul to enter the womb of his wife. As the baby grew within the womb, he taught the unborn child the secrets of the scriptures through the subconscious mind of the mother. This baby, when born, was named Sukadeva. Because of his prenatal training, he proved to be a unique child. At the age of 7, he already was versed in the difficult Hindu scriptures and was ready to renounce the world and devote himself fully to his spiritual quest. In India, it is customary for a devotee to seek out spiritual teachers until a true master is found, one who is recognized as that devotee's own God-chosen guru. Spiritual novices, through fitful inner urgings, receive instruction from various sources. But when one's spiritual ardor becomes very great, God sends a guru. God uses the divine soul vehicle of the guru as his messenger or instrument to bring the aspirant back to the soul's true spiritual home in omnipresence. The unusual child Sukadeva had a tremendous urge to seek the divine. In his fervent search, he was directed by his father to go to King Janak, the ruler of the state of Vaideha. As Sukadeva entered the palace, he saw the king sitting on an elaborate jewel-encrusted golden throne. The king was surrounded by courtiers and by court damsels who were fanning him with palm leaves. This sight shocked Sukadeva. He turned back and started to walk briskly out of the palace, muttering to himself, "A matter-soaked king, how could a worldly man be my teacher?" But King Janaka was both king and saint. He was in the world, but not of it. Highly advanced spiritually, he telepathically sensed the thoughts of the fleeing Sukadeva and sent a messenger after the boy, commanding him to come back. Thus, master and devotee met. The king sent his attendants away and at once entered an absorbing discourse on God. 4 hours passed. Sukadeva was getting restless and hungry, but he dared not disturb the God-intoxicated King Janaka. Another hour passed. Suddenly, 2 breathless messengers arrived, exclaiming, "Your Majesty, the whole city is on fire. The flames threaten to spread to the palace. Won't you come and supervise the efforts to fight it?" The king replied, "I am too busy discussing the all-protecting God with my friend Sukadeva. I have no time for anything else. Go and help the others put out the fire." When another hour passed, The same two messengers came running to the king Janak and cried, "Your Majesty, please flee. The flames have caught the palace and are fast approaching your chamber." The king answered, "Never mind. Don't disturb me. I am drinking the nectar of God with my friend. Go, do the best that you can." Sukadeva was puzzled by the king's attitude, but he too tried to remain unaffected by the excitement. Later, two scorched messengers leaped in front of the king, shouting, "Mighty king, behold the flames approaching your throne. Run before both of you are burned." The king replied, "Save yourselves. I do not fear the audacity of destructive flames." His messengers fled. The flames leaped towards the pile of books that Sukadeva had by his side, but the king sat motionless, indifferent. The alarmed Sukadeva lost his poise. He half rose from his seat and began slapping at the flames in order to save his precious books. King Janaka then smilingly waved his hand, and the fire miraculously disappeared. Sukadeva, in great awe, sank back to his seat. The king said calmly, "O young Sukadev, you thought of me as a pleasure and matter-drenched king. But look at yourself. You forsook the all-protecting thought of God to save a pile of books, while I paid no attention to my burning kingdom and palace. God worked this miracle to show you that although you are a renunciant, you are more attached to your books than to God, or than I am to my kingdom, even though I live in the world instead of the hermitage." Attachments to possessions and not possessions itself is the source of misery. In this world, we do not own anything. We are only given the use of things. Some have more to use than others. But remember, the millionaire and the poor man alike have to leave everything, all possessions, when death comes. Humbled, the young Sukadeva then recognized the saint king to be his guru. King Janaka put Sukadeva through a process of discipline to teach him the art of living in the world without acquiring misery-making attachment to it. One day, the king gave his new disciple 2 cup-shaped lamps filled to the brim with oil. Janaka said, "Hold a lamp on the palm of each hand and walk through all the rooms of the palace. Come back to me after you have seen everything. But remember, I will refuse to train you further if you spill even a single drop from the lamps." King Janaka instructed messengers to accompany Sukdev and to refill the 2 lamps with oil as quickly as they burned down. It was a very hard test, but after some hours, Sukadev returned triumphantly without having spilled any oil. The king said, "Young Sukadev, tell me in detail what you saw in each chamber." To this, Sukadev replied, "Royal preceptor, my only accomplishment was that I did not spill any oil on your carpets. My mind was so concentrated on the thought of not dripping oil that I did not notice anything in the rooms." King Janaka then declared, "I am disappointed. You have not completely passed my test. My injunctions were that you should see everything in all the chambers of the palace and you should not drip any oil from the lamps. Go back with the lamps and remember, do not spill the oil while you look carefully at everything in the palace." After several more hours, Sukadev calmly returned. He had not allowed any oil to drip, nor was he perspiring with excitement as before. He could answer all the king's questions about the contents, however minute, of all the palace chambers. King Janaka was pleased. My son, he gently said, one should not live a one-sided life, thinking only of God and neglecting one's duties in the world, such as your concentrating on the oil lamps and not seeing the palace. On the second trip, you kept your attention principally on the lamps, seeing to it that you did not spill any oil, but at the same time, you thoroughly saw everything. So should you keep your attention on God, not letting a drop slip away from the lamp of God revealing wisdom, and yet devote part of your attention to performing efficiently the God given duties of maintaining yourself and others given into your charge. I'll read out a few comments by Yogananda ji after having narrated this story. This is what he says. The two morals of this story illustrate the basis of the world's troubles: one-sidedness and attachment. We were intended to live in the world, but not to be bound by it, to fulfill our material duties in life, but to center our consciousness in God. Contrary to Sukadev's preoccupation with the oil lamps and his consequent neglect of outward duties, most people today have spilled all the precious oil of the inner God perception while racing after external experiences. And unlike the wise king Janaka, who was detached from the vast material treasures of his kingdom, modern men and women dote on their transitory possessions as the sole sources of happiness. The mass effect of attachment to material things and indifference to spiritual development has led the world to selfishness, poverty amidst plenty, and finally to widespread economic depression. In the individual, forgetting God and clinging to possessions brings sorrow and dissatisfaction. Hence, those who want the unlimited divine power to work for them in business and family affairs and to bestow on them lasting peace and happiness should be as earnest in seeking God as they are in pursuing the materialities He has created, as devoted to meditation as they are to earning money. All who endeavor to find God first and to hold that divine oil ever steady in their consciousness will gain both enduring inner happiness and the outer success of acquiring their material needs. We must not feel we are too busy to try to contact God. Should God stop our hearts, we would be unable to keep any of our business or social engagement. Since all our success depends upon powers borrowed from God, truly that person is successful in life who devotes time to God communion as well as to material duties. And one who enjoys the good and beautiful things of this world, yet refuses to be possessed by them, is one who finds lasting happiness. So Paramahansa Yogananda says, remember, dear student, that to be mentally and physically idle, neglecting to perform the duties required of you, is to be forsaken by God and by man. And to carry out your duties, but to forget God, is to be like the mule carrying a bag of gold. It gets a little satisfaction by receiving food as a reward for carrying its load, but it does not use or appreciate the priceless treasure on his back. Similarly, one can receive a little satisfaction through performing one's duties, but miss the greatest happiness in life, which comes from being conscious of the God bliss that you are carrying within your own soul. To perform all proper outer duties with concentration while being inwardly aware of the gold of God's presence is the ideal mode of living, the way to everlasting happiness. Beautiful story by Yogananda ji, and beautiful lesson to be grasped from it and to be lived each day. So friends, continuing with our study of the third book of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Vibhuti Pad, we read in the earlier class that Patanjali said, Dharana is concentration, fixing one's full attention to one place, to one object or one idea at a time. And then an unbroken flow of that knowledge to that object becomes dhyana. And when the subject, that is the person meditating, and the object of meditation, they become one, that state is called samadhi. And the three together means dharana, dhyan, and samadhi are called samyam. By the conquest of that comes the light of knowledge, says Patanjali. That means by the mastery of samyam comes in complete intuitive understanding of who we are. And then Patanjali says to the seeker, these should be applied in stages. Then he goes on to say that these three limbs of samyam, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, are inner to the first 5 limbs of Patanjali's of Ashtanga Yoga. And then he says that the samadhi is inner to even these 3 limbs. And then the last sutra that we did last time is it said that by the suppression of the modifications of the mind and by the rise of the modification of control, the mind is said to have attained the controlling modification. And in simple terms, we understood that suppose there is a vritti in the mind. A vritti is, as we know, is like a wave or a modification in the lake of consciousness. So consider that the mind is a lake, and in absolute state it is very, very still, and therefore it can reflect the consciousness of God within itself. But the problem with our mind lake is that it is very, very disturbed with so many restless thoughts. So they have here small waves, large waves, small whirlpools, big whirlpools, and all of these kind of together form the vrittis, which are stored as samskaras. So there are many vrittis or many movements in the lake of our mind. And it says that when we come on the path and we start using measures to control these vrittis, that movement of consciousness of control is also another kind of, that is also not stillness, it is also a movement. For example, if we have the vritti of getting angry or becoming irritable with everything, and we acknowledge that there is this vritti in our mind lake, and now we want to control this vritti, and suppose we use the power of affirmations to control this vritti, then since we are using an affirmation, and affirmation is also a movement in the lake of consciousness, it is not pure stillness. So to counteract the vritti that already exists, a negative one, we introduced another wave in the move, which we are not introducing a vritti, but we're just saying that, okay, we are going to control this by another movement of consciousness. And when they are equal, then that the original vritti will start to subside. So simply speaking, there is an energy vortex in our spine. If we want to conquer that energy vortex, then we have to create at least enough energy which is equal in amount to the energy that was previously set, but in the opposite direction. So most of our worldly energy vrittis are going down and out. So that means we have to create another movement of consciousness, another movement of energy, which is up and in, which can counteract and offset the previous vritti. So this is what is being said in this sutra. Okay. So Swami Vivekananda clarifies this a little more, and he says, when the yogi tries to control a vritti, which impels his mind to rush out through the senses, the very control that he practices is also a modification of the mind stuff. So it will not be real samadhi when all the waves have subsided, as control itself will be a wave. So let's not go too much into that depth. So eventually he's saying that this is what we discussed earlier, that another movement of consciousness is being created to cancel out the previously occurring vritti. Sutra number 10. Tasyam prashant vahita sanskarat, meaning its flow becomes steady by habit. That means the control, the movement that we have started to control as a control measure for the other negative vrittis. Now this will become steady by habit. Abhyas. He also said previously that we need abhyas and vairagya for development on this spiritual path. The flow of this continuous control of the mind becomes steady when practiced day after day, and the mind obtains the faculty of constant concentration. The production of the inward silent state is accomplished by repeated practice, which instills it in the mind as a powerful samskara. So actually here saying that you are creating a powerful samskara of tuning into your own inner light by the power of the sadhana that you've been doing for such a long time. And you need to do it for a long time, and you need to do it unceasingly without a break, with all sincerity, for this to become a successful endeavor. Swami Kriyananda ji says, when his flow of awareness becomes strong and steady, the vrittis having smoothed, this upward flow becomes natural to him. So eventually ये control, आप initially तो control practice कर रहे हो, उसमें आप effort डाल रहे हो, but eventually this will become natural to him, और ये आपको अपने अंदर सहज ही महसूस होगा. The more of the more the meditator, more number of times he enters samadhi state, the more his freedom from ego and from the body, they seem natural to him. So having an experience of savikalp samadhi just once for a few seconds or a few minutes is not enough. By regular meditation, it is important that we go again and again into that state. Again and again, we start to feel that egolessness. And when we come down back into our ego, because we may not be in state of nirvikalpa samadhi so far. So when we come down in that state of ego, we remember. So we are creating in the mind the memory of the egolessness. So we are using the mind and the intellect as a tool. Firstly, of course, we can use it to use the world, to understand, to see and understand the world. And then we are using the same mind and intellect by turning inwards. We are using it to know our true self by going again and again into the state of samadhi. Sutra 11. Sarvarth taik gratyoh kshayo drayau chittasya samadhi parinama. Meaning, samadhi is the result of the gradual settling of distractions and simultaneous rising of one-pointedness. Samadhi is the result when the mind takes up one object and excludes all others. So again, dharana, dhyan is samadhi. So we are from yam niyam towards, as we move towards samadhi, what is gradually happening is that we are shedding all the other unnecessary thoughts and we are fixing our mind to one thought initially. And then when we enter the state of samadhi, we leave even that one thought. And the technique of Hongso that Master has given us is exactly for this purpose. You give the mind the job to chant, mentally chant Hong and So, and you give the mind the job of watching the breath. This should exclude all other thoughts from the mind. You should be so concentrated in this activity itself of the mind that no other thought dare intrude. So perfection of Hongso will actually be when you are so one pointed on the breath and then you can transcend the breath. That means Hongso practice needs to be deepened. So not only do we need to do our kriyas, but there are other times in the day when we are not doing our kriyas. That time we can utilize to interiorize our consciousness and maybe practice Hongso. Swami Kriyananda ji said, as mental distractions dwindle and one's focus becomes more and more one-pointed. So one's inner identification with the samadhi state increases. So again and again you go into samadhi, again and again, even when you're not in samadhi, you are practicing concentration. So this becomes kind of embossed in your consciousness and it becomes natural to you. Yogananda ji also has commented on this sutra in some of his teachings, and he said, taking in all sorts of objects and concentrating upon one object are two modifications of the mind. When the first is of these is suppressed and the other is manifested, the chitta acquires the modification called samadhi. Sutra number 12. Tataha punaha shanto ditau tulya pratyayau chittasya ekagrata parinama. Then again, one-pointedness is the result when the vritti that is subsiding and the vritti that is arising are equal to each other. We will try and understand this. So Swami Kriyananda ji said, when the waves of past and present impressions become smoothed, there comes complete inner calmness. The whole of cosmic creation, as we know, exists only as waves of vibration on the surface of the great ocean of spirit. When those waves become calmed in the consciousness of the individual yogi, then even though creation continues to exist, he himself lives in the perfect calmness of spirit. Yogananda ji has said about this sutra, the modification called one-pointedness of the chitta is acquired when the impression that is in the past and that which is in present is similar. Meaning, अब हमने एक एग्जाम्पल लिया था थोड़ी देर पहले कि यदि एक वृत्ति है हमारे अंदर एंगर की और हम एक दूसरी वृत्ति क्रिएट कर रहे हैं कंट्रोल की, तो वृत्ति एंगर की पास्ट में थी और प्रेजेंट में हम क्या कर रहे हैं, कंट्रोल की वृत्ति क्रिएट कर रहे हैं. तो यही वो कह रहे हैं कि जब पास्ट की वृत्ति का जो एनर्जी है वो इक्वल हो जाएगी प्रेजेंट की, यानी कि प्रेजेंट को हम ऑफ कोर्स पास्ट से इक्वल कर सकते हैं, पास्ट को प्रेजेंट से नहीं कर सकते हैं. तो जब हमारी प्रेजेंट कॉन्शियसनेस में अभी जो हमने कंट्रोल की वृत्ति क्रिएट करी है, जब वो हमारी पास्ट वृत्ति से इक्वलाइज हो जाएगी तो जो वेव्स हैं वो सेटल हो जाएंगी और हम एक काम स्टेट में आ जाएंगे. इसीलिए एफर्मेशंस को मास्टर ने कहा है, यू हैव टू रिपीट देम अगेन एंड अगेन एंड अगेन एंड अगेन. व्हाई? बिकॉज हमारी अगर एंग्री होने की टेंडेंसी है तो वो एक लाइफ टाइम की नहीं है, वो मल्टीपल लाइफ टाइम्स की है. तो हमने कई बारी वो जो वॉटेक्स है उसको एक्स्ट्रा एनर्जी दी है, उस वृत्ति को हमने इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग किया है कि हम रिफ्लेक्सिवली भी एंग्री हो जाते हैं. अब जब हम एक नई मूवमेंट क्रिएट कर रहे हैं कंट्रोल की अपने कॉन्शियसनेस में, और उसकी पावर अगर हम चाहते हैं कि पहले वृत्ति जितनी हो जो कि हमने लाइफ टाइम्स में क्रिएट करी हुई है, तो हमें कितनी ज्यादा पावर एक एफर्मेशन को देनी पड़ेगी. और कई बार सिंगल सेटिंग में ये पॉसिबल नहीं है. इनफैक्ट फॉर मोस्ट ऑफ अस who may be restless or scattered in their mind, it is not possible to gather so much energy in one affirmation that we can dissolve the previous vritti. Although master has clearly said that even in one meditation, even in one powerfully said affirmation, you can dissolve the previous vritti completely. One previous vritti can be completely dissolved in one affirmation, in one meditation. It is a possibility. But for most of us, we need repeated affirmations to be done again and again and again. We need to repeat our meditative process. We need to repeat our prayers, because our magnetism is not as strong as that of the Guru's. The Guru's magnetism is so strong that he says a word and it has to be true. But as disciples, we are also trying to go in that direction, but we may not be as well advanced and well developed spiritually. So we need to just repeat sincerely whatever practices that we may pick up for the day, and we have to repeat them every day. Sutra number 13. Eten bhute indriyeshu dharma lakhana anastha parinam vyakhyatah. Meaning, by this is explained the threefold transformations of form, time, and state in fine or gross matter and in the organs. So it's a bit confusing, but let me just read out and then maybe we can discuss to simplify the whole thing. The mind stuff is changing into vrittis. This is the change in form. So basically एक तो हो गया मेंटल लेक जो है वो बिल्कुल स्टिल है. सपोज आप सभी कल्प समाधि में हैं, आप बिल्कुल एब्सोल्युटली स्टिल है आपका माइंड, दैट इज वन स्टेट. So that stillness or the still ocean changes into a wave when there is a thought, when there is a movement of consciousness, when there is a vritti. So form change हो गया. So ocean में ही पानी है और wave में भी पानी है, ठीक है. तो जब एक still ocean एक wave का रूप ले रहा है, तो that is a change in form. To be able to hold the changes to the present time is change as to time. So means अभी जो waves हैं, जो ocean है, वो waves में past में भी था, present में भी है, future में भी है, but उसको हम अभी अपने control में ले सकें, that is being referred to as the changes to present time. To be able to make the mind stuff go to the past forms is to change of state. So यहाँ पे memory की का matter आ रहा है. So वो कह रहे हैं कि to be able to dwell in the past waves is called a change in state. So इसको और हम आगे समझने की कोशिश करेंगे. The concentration given in the preceding aphorisms are to teach the yogi a voluntary control over the transformation of his mind stuff. Swami Kriyananda ji says, thus has been described the transformation of a false reality into its changeless essence. Yogananda ji has also commented on this sutra. In this way, that is by the three modifications mentioned above, means form, state, and time, is explained, is explained the threefold transformation as to form, time, and state in matter and in the organs. So, अब हम इसको थोड़ा सा और समझते हैं. अब फॉर्म का जो चेंज है वो हमने ये बोला था कि एक तो स्टिल ओशन है और एक वेव है, तो ये फॉर्म का चेंज हो गया. ऑल्दो ब्रह्मन इज वन, स्पिरिट इज वन, बट इट अपीयर्स टू बी टेकिंग डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स. सो ऑल्सो वी सेड दैट वन मेनी मॉडिफिकेशंस. अब हमारे अगर हम मेंटल लेक की बात करें तो उसमें एक बार में कई सारी थॉट प्रोसेसेस हो सकती हैं जिसको इवेंचुअली हमने वन थॉट प्रोसेस में लाना है. So change in form is that the ocean is changing into a wave. Change in state can be that the many vrittis are changing to only one vritti of control or one vritti of concentration. And the change in time is what we talked about in the previous sutra. The past modifications of the mind, that means the past vrittis, which are now in this present moment, we are trying to control and to match their energy in the present moment. So this is modifications in terms of time. So इसीलिए जो रूप है वो चेंज हो सकता है कॉन्शियसनेस का, ओशन से वेव में आ सकता है. कई सारी मॉडिफिकेशंस को हम बाय आवर प्रोसेस ऑफ कंट्रोल एक मॉडिफिकेशन में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं बाय सिंगल पॉइंटेड कंसंट्रेशन. और समय के हिसाब से भी पुरानी जो वृत्तियां वेल एस्टैब्लिश्ड हैं उनको हम प्रेजेंट मेजर्स ऑफ कंट्रोल से उसको चेंज कर सकते हैं. सो दिस इज व्हाट द योगी इज ट्राइंग टू डू. Okay, Sutra number 14. Shanto Ditavya Apadesha Dharma Anupati Dharmi, meaning that which is acted upon by transformations, either past, present, or yet to be manifested, is qualified. So simply इसमें इसका मतलब यहाँ पे संख्या योगा का, संख्या का फिलॉसफी का मेंशन आ गया है. तो एक हमें मालूम है गीता में हमने पार प्रकृति और अपार प्रकृति करा है. इन इंग्लिश भी सिंपली से मैनिफेस्टेड एंड अनमैनिफेस्टेड कॉन्शियसनेस. सो यहाँ पे उसी की बात हो रही है कि ये जितनी भी हम बातें कर रहे हैं ये सारे मैनिफेस्टेड वर्ल्ड में आती हैं, ये सारी प्रकृति में आती हैं, बिकॉज जो अनमैनिफेस्ट है, जो स्पिरिट है, वो तो वैसे भी अपने आप में स्टिल है. स्वामी क्रियानंदा जी सेज चेंज resides only in prakriti which goes through dormant, emerging, and potential states. When everything is withdrawn into the night of Brahma, Prakriti is withdrawn into a dormant or latent state. In that state, it still exists, as do all the countless beings who have not yet attained their liberation. When a day of Brahma begins again, everything is spewed out into manifestations once more, to resume at the level of spiritual evolution it had attained at the onset of the last pralaya. Change exists only in outward manifestations. The Supreme Self itself is ever existing, ever conscious, ever new, and forever changeless. Sutra number 15. Krama anyatam parinam nyatve hetu, meaning the succession of changes is the cause of manifold evolution, or it's a stimulus to evolution. So similar kind of explanations by Vivekananda and Kriyananda. So here what they are saying is definitely there is a change happening, and this is the change that impels us to towards evolution. So it is, so many changes have happened in our own consciousness before we entered the spiritual path in this lifetime and after we've entered the spiritual path. So all that movement, all that change is slowly impelling us to evolve and eventually to understand and to free ourselves from all these modifications, because we need to remember eventually that we are pure changeless spirit, and all these changes are transitory and they are happening in our own existence, in our own mind stuff. Okay. Sutra number 16. Parinam Traya Samyam Atit Agat Jnanam. This is a very interesting sutra. Swami Vivekananda says, through the practice of samyam on the three sorts of changes comes the knowledge of the past and the future. So again, we will have to think of what is samyam, and then we will understand that how we can gain the knowledge of the past and future. So when the mind has attained to that state, when it identifies itself with the internal impressions of the object, leaving the external, and when by long practice that has been retained in the mind, and the mind can go into that state in a moment, that is samyam. So in a moment आप इतने ज़्यादा concentrated हो कि आप from one moment to the next, you can shift your consciousness from an outward worldly vision to an inward knowledge of Brahman. So जब संयम perfect हो जाता है तो वो इस level तक आ जाता है. If a man in that state wants to know the past and the future, he has to make a samyam on the changes of samskars. Some samskars are working now at present, some have worked out, and some are waiting to work. So by making a samyam on these changes, he can know the past and the future. Okay, we'll try and understand this. Swami Kriyananda ji says, by samyam, that is attunement with or absorption in on the three kinds of changes. What are the three kinds of changes? This could be either the change in form, time, and state that we described previously, or a change in the dormant, emerging, and potential aspects of Prakriti, comes the knowledge of the past and the future. These universal changes are but waves on the surface of the ocean. By absorption in changelessness beneath these three changes, one develops the ability to know their underlying abiding reality. Because we are involved so closely in these changes, we see life from day to day and from moment to moment. But when we realize that the soul is never born, never really lives on earth, and never dies, absorption from a spiritual level in the underlying changelessness of all that lives makes it possible for one to see the vast symphony of which this little measure, our present life, is quickly over. Okay. So, इसमें जो बात स्वामी जी ने कही है कि आप present, past, future कैसे जान सकते हैं, that you go beyond time basically, and beyond time क्या है, our own changeless self. So when you touch the depths of your own being again and again in Savikalpa Samadhi and then in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, eventually, because you are from seeing everything as an object. Now time also becomes an object. So you are the subject who's being witnessing, and you realize it was these characters that you were playing in the past lives. Then you know that what was your past, and then you can also predict your future. So for example, अगर आप हम एक व्हील का एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं, बहुत बड़ा पहिया है, उस पहिए के हम पेरिफेरी पे रह रहे हैं, और पेरिफेरी पे जो सर्कमस्टांसेस है वो व्हील मूव करता जाता है, वो हम उसके साथ मूव करते जाते हैं, हम इतने इन्वॉल्व हैं उन चेंजेस में कि हमें समझ ही नहीं आता कि क्या हो रहा है, हम कौन थे, कहाँ से आए हैं, हम बस वो पहिया घूम रहा है, हम उसके साथ साथ हम घूम रहे हैं, जो डे टू डे हमें वर्ल्डली नजारे दिखते हैं हम वो देखते हैं, अपना थोड़ा सा काम करते हैं, और हम थोड़ा अपने मेडिटेटिव प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, और हमें इतना ही समझ आता है। लेकिन जब हम संयम प्रैक्टिस में, यानी कि हम अपनी वन पॉइंटेड कंसंट्रेशन एंड सरेंडर एंड ऑल ऑफ व्हाट वी हैव लर्नड, उसमें हम ज्यादा एस्टैब्लिश हो जाते हैं, तो हम पेरिफेरी ऑफ द व्हील की जगह स्पोक्स ऑफ द व्हील के अलोंग सेंटर की तरफ आने लगते हैं। और जब हम सेंटर की तरफ आने लगते हैं, अब एक पहिए को अगर आप नोट करेंगे, तो जब पहिया पूरा भी घूम रहा होता है तो एक्चुअली उसका सेंटर स्टेशनरी होता है। It appears to be moving, but the center of every wheel is stationary and the rest of it moves. So the more you come to the center of your being, the more, since now from the center you can see the wheel moving, and therefore you will be able to know your past and know your future. That is one aspect of it, and it's very essential to understand. And this is how karma can be understood. Only once you are coming to the center, and remember that the center of your wheel of existence in your own heart. Your own heart is the center of this entire wheel of existence that moves around you. And the closer you come to the silence that is hidden in your own heart, the more you will know who you were in past lives, what you are doing right now, what you will do as an individual in future lives, and actually who you are in truth. और इसको और अगर हम डे टू डे रियलिटीज में देखें, so I've read some teachings from the Buddha, and some of the Buddhist teachings say that if you want to know somebody's past, see his present. यानी कि अगर हम अब प्रेजेंट में किसी की एंग्री होने की वृत्ति है, उसकी टेंडेंसी है, या उसको ग्रीड की टेंडेंसी है, तो आप जान जाओगे कि ये एक दिन में तो बनी नहीं है, इसका मतलब ये टेंडेंसीज उसकी पास्ट से भी आ सकते हैं. सो रफली यू कैन नो what kind of a person he was in previous lifetimes, and you can by, so that is why in this sutra उन्होंने संस्कारों की बात करी है कि संस्कारों के ऊपर संयम करने से आप जान जाएंगे कि वो पर्सन पहले क्या था. और similarly with this teachings they said that by if you want to know the future of the person you should see his present. तो यानी कि प्रेजेंट में वो क्या कर्म कर रहा है, वो अपना फ्यूचर लिख रहा है इस समय, तो आज ही डिसाइड होगा कि कल वो क्या बनने वाला है. अगर आप इतना सिंगल पॉइंटेड इस पे फोकस करेंगे, कॉन्सेंट्रेट करेंगे किसी भी एक संस्कार पे, तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कि ये जो एक्शन अभी ये पर्सन कर रहा है और इसके पीछे इसका ये इंटेंशन और ये थॉट प्रोसेस है, ये ऑटोमेटिकली क्या फ्रूट पे इसको लेके जाएगा. तो ये बातें सुनने में बहुत डिफिकल्ट लगती हैं, बट अगर आप अपने आसपास देखें तो आप इसको समझना मुश्किल नहीं है. जो पर्सन एक चोरी कर रहा है वो ऑटोमेटिक हमें पता है कि इवेंचुअली कभी ना कभी उसको मतलब पनिशमेंट या जेल होगा ही होगा. ये हम प्रेजेंट देख के उसका बता रहे हैं कि एक तो उसको ग्रीड और ये वाली टेंडेंसी पहले से है, ये हमने पास्ट में बता दिया, और फ्यूचर में वो उसके साथ क्या होने वाला है ये भी आप कुछ हद तक जान सकते हो. इसी तरह हमने लाइफ को लाइफ टाइम्स में इतना देखा है कि हम कॉमन सेंस से ही ये बता सकते हैं कि अगर ये प्रेजेंट में पर्सन स्पिरिचुअल प्रैक्टिसेस कर रहा है तो धीरे धीरे ओवर द इयर्स इसका जॉय लेवल बढ़ेगा, इसको विजडम गेन होगा, इसको इवेंचुअल आत्मन का ज्ञान उसके ऊपर डॉन करेगा. ये हमें मालूम है, ये संस्कार है. उसका जो अभी का मेडिटेटिव प्रैक्टिस है, ये संस्कार को यदि हम देखें तो हम भी प्रिडिक्ट कर सकते हैं कि वो फ्यूचर में क्या करेगा. ऑल्सो अगर इस जन्म में कोई पर्सन एक यंग एज में बहुत ज्यादा ही डिवोटेड है या वो योगी है, तो हम ये इसको देख के ये जान सकते हैं कि ये पास्ट से करके आया है ये, क्योंकि ये वो चीजें ओवरनाइट नहीं डेवलप होती हैं. सो दिस इज अ सिंपल वे ऑफ of seeing, of if you focus just on one samskara and also in yourself, not only don't from today start focusing on other people's samskaras, and don't try to think what they were in past and what they will be in future. Now think of yourself, come back to yourself and see, if I have this particular tendency, that means I have brought it from the past, and now it is an impression from the past. Now I have to create an equal and opposite wave of equal strength now in this present, if I want to overcome it in the future. And if I want my future to be bright, it is now in this moment that I have to do all that it takes to make a bright future. And this time, in terms of past, present, future, we are only talking in terms of body, mind, personality, and prakriti. At every given point of time from now on, actually our true purpose is to realize that we are the changeless self, the Atman, behind all of this dramatic change that is happening in our consciousness, that is happening in our thought, then happening in our prana, and then happening in our bodies, and manifesting in the physical world as situations in our life. So we have to come back to the center of the wheel and know that the center of the wheel is not outside you. There is no outside machinery that is controlling your life. That the center or point of the machinery and the control of that machinery lies in your own heart. So we need to bring the heart to Chitta Vritti Nirodha from now on. We have to watch by introspection every wave of thought and feeling that arises in the ocean, watching it, acknowledging it, then creating a force of control, and then going beyond even that control into silence. So every day we need to practice all that our guru has told us to do. We need to do meditation every day to bring ourselves to the point of extreme calmness, of that extreme poise, from where we can become a witness. We need to do affirmations every day to cancel out past energies. We need to do prayers because we need to invoke the merciful presence of the ever-present God. So we need to do all of this more and more if we want to achieve that calmness, that eternal peace that we are looking for in this lifetime. And frankly speaking, even lifetime, number of lifetimes does not matter anymore. Once you have decided that you are going to be free, and once you have decided that you're going to follow the guru's teachings till the point of, we kind of merge with the infinite, it doesn't matter how many more lifetimes there are to live, because as Master said, in that state you feel inwardly free. And always remember that there is nothing outside us that we need to work with. All of it needs to be worked from within, just like the story we read out in the beginning of the class. So as we are focused within our heart, we keep the lamp burning, the lamp of God's presence, the lamp of our sincere love and effort of attaining that God's presence. At the same time, dutifully performing all the actions in this outside world. This is the way, the secret, and the key to everlasting happiness. Don't wait for lifetimes. Happiness lies right now in this moment. Freedom, salvation, moksha is in this moment, if we were but to look in that way, in that direction, and with that sense of pure calmness, and affirming again and again that we are children of God. No matter what, we are always children of God. With that thought, my dear friends, let us share the power of these wonderful teachings with all souls everywhere. Let us pray together. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.